wanted to make this video to, it's a common sense thing, but just something that people should watch for. Um, I haven't really talked about it much in videos, but maybe a couple of times, but kind of under different topics. But you have dashboards, for VA, My Health Vet. They're integrated, but they're supposed to be. Sometimes providers cleverly code things or scan something into what's called Vista imaging, which does not integrate with your VA.gov Blue Button report. Those two systems are exclusive. They don't integrate. So there's a lot of ways that malicious providers will do stuff, and they'll put stuff into Vista imaging, and even the Veterans Benefit Administration can't access it. It's local only. That's what they do. Just run their tricks. You'll see on some of your reports, you'll say something scanned into Vista imaging. Well, when you see that, just so you know, VBA and other VAs can't pull that up. They have to be maybe remotely logged into your local VA if they have that ability, or they have to be on site. But the Benefit Administration, they don't have access to it. It's local only. There's just some stuff that malicious providers do, which is not necessary. Vista imaging is not even needed. The VA spent, what was it like? It was like in the billions to develop this My Health Vet system, which also includes a call center. And those MSAs, well, actually, the MSAs, that's local, that's Vet Connect. But the My Health Vet agents, call center agents, they have access to some of the same stuff that you do, some of the same stuff you do, and some of the same stuff that your providers do. They can log into CPRS. So, but Vista imaging, I don't know if the call center can access Vista imaging. I'm not sure about that part. If they have access to that, I'm not sure. They do have access to CPRS. But now that being said, if stuff is scanned into Vista imaging and it's relevant to your claim or relevant to you getting care at another VA, maybe for maybe supplemental care for one of your once you're rated for something, that opens up extra funding. And I'm going to be testing it soon. Even though I have a rocky relationship, I want to get away from this VA, but I'm not medically stable yet. I'm not financially stable, so I'm stuck here. But, stuff like, medical needs, like for CPAP, why do we have to buy purified water all the time? Actually, not purified, distilled water all the time. It would actually save us money if we had distillers. And I've known veterans who the VA buys them air purifiers, not just one, but several. And then they refill the filters. Stuff like that. We should have it. And if we have, arthritic conditions, especially if they're related to service, we should be getting canes, walkers, those walking, I don't even know what they call them, the wheeled walker things with brakes on it. Power chairs, yeah, we don't want to go there. But, it should open, because it opens up extra funding. But anyway, that being said, you have dashboards, with your bank, with your insurance, with your energy company, your cable, your phone, et cetera, Everybody now has many, many dashboards in their life. You see, the thing about dashboards is if somebody's going to get a hold of your username and your password, they're going to find a way to get it. they can access your dashboards and they can absolutely reap havoc in your life. Now, I encountered this, you know, our experience the past 8 years, 7 years. I've, experienced this as well as that kind of uh, piqued my curiosity when we were victimized and that happened. I started to research about it. And, there's a lot of families in Saginaw County that have had this happen to them who get um, any kind of cash or SNAP or Medicaid benefits through MDHHS Saginaw. There's a lot of comments on their Google reviews of people who, under certain circumstances, if any time they get returned mail, and that once that mail hits back the center, um, and it goes back to wherever it was mailed from, your county office, or their mailing center, within a couple of days, your benefits will be froze. Let's see, and if you don't update anything within 30 days and your card's used out of state, your benefits will be froze. So what people have done is they're hacking people's dashboards, changing phone numbers, that way people can't authenticate, changing email addresses, that way you can't reset your account, and that way whatever you're dealing with, you're stuck. You can't access your money. Oh, that's another thing. We experienced this with the credit card. They'll freeze your card. Some of the different companies like Capital One, I think, what's that other company? Credit One, Discover too. I mean, there's a lot of credit card and banks out there where you can, click an icon and your card will be froze or turned off. They'll do that so you can't access your funds, you can't reset your account, you can't recover a password, you're stuck. Then you have to call into a call center. And just imagine if that call center, the contract was in your state, or maybe even in your county, or, within a couple hours of you, a call center, in your state, but a couple hours away, or in your town. Just imagine the kind of havoc and destruction that people could do to your life when they target you. All it takes is hacking the dashboard. And anybody knows in law enforcement, intelligence, criminal intelligence, people who investigate, the different types of electronic criminal networks. They'll use centers like that. Could be 20 people, 10 or 20 people that are sharing a farmhouse. Could be people that, rent a suite inside of an office building. They could rent a whole floor of an office building. They could rent a hall and set up, a bunch of computers there and contact centers so they can do stuff. There's been investigations in Chicago where they found a group that's known to do this kind of stuff. I think it was 20-some people. 20-some people were involved in a multi-million-dollar contact center fraud business. Multi-million-dollar in Chicago. Investigators with Chicago police and I guess one of the local branches of FBI in Chicago, they encountered and they arrested some of these people. But they were operating everybody thought it was a call center, but it wasn't. It was a call contact center, but they were engaged in defrauding people. And it was like in the millions that was defrauded, and some of that they couldn't get back. But anyway, so I'm not saying that this will happen to anybody out there. I'm just saying this is the worst case scenario. But if somebody messes with your dashboard, they're certainly going to ruin your day. And, potentially to get things back on track, it could take hours. So, if you're away from home, that's even more problematic. You know how hard it is to do, multitasking type business when you're on a phone and a tablet at the same time, maybe? Very difficult to get things done. But people will do that, and they'll change phone numbers, they'll change addresses, they'll change email addresses, they'll change like recovery email addresses, all kinds of stuff. And this also will disable two factor. It'll disable it for you, enable it for them. So, this is just a FY to check this stuff. Every now and then just make sure things they're right. And what I experienced with the VA, evidently somebody knows that what's going on with my claim, of course, by hacking us, people stalking us, people, trying to listen through the walls. I already know this from legal counsel that people are doing it, and they've been doing it for years. But what people did to me was they know that we're in the process of my VA claim. They know I have children, and I'm desperate to start getting back on track and, to do something for my kids. And so somebody went into my dashboard with va.gov, and they did something just simple, just very simple, but it was enough to cause a banking error. They went in and changed the direct deposit information from checking to savings, something that simple, and it got rejected. But I fixed it now, but still, there's a process to fix things. But so that tells me that things as of last week were already sent out, which I talked to somebody today and she confirmed that. But the thing is that if this happens to you and you don't have that nest egg, it can be really destructive. And there's lots of stuff out there. Two-factor authentication is an ingenious thing, and there's other kinds of things, encryption. Let's see, there's different kinds of key tokens or security certificates. There's different things you can do to increase security to a certain point, but you're dealing with a government server, so you're restricted to a certain degree what you can do. But you can use a VPN. But under certain circumstances, sometimes you can't use a VPN. But still, just keep track of this stuff, and just so people out there know, this is every now and then, after your monthly payment's done, why not go in and double check your direct deposit? Some places you can do this, some you can't. Some parts of these sites for the VA or related organizations, the only thing you could do is just resubmit it. But if everything is there, and everything's there, you've already been paid. What's wrong with every now and then randomly resubmitting stuff, but checking it, making sure it's correct. If you start to see, I'm not just saying do it out of the blue, but if you see certain irregularities with your accounts, like your inbox in My Health Vet, stuff is being opened and you didn't read it, or various message in the va.gov side of the website, you're not getting your messages regarding claim or return payments or stuff like that. When you're seeing stuff that's just out of the norm, why not go in there and just resubmit your direct deposit information after you check it twice. Check it after you put it in, reread it, and then look away for about 10 seconds, and then go back and look at it again, rereading it again, then submit. But because it can really cause a lot of trouble. And there's just really bad people out there. Whoever would do this, obviously they know exactly what's going on. It's just malicious criminals, really criminals. And and I'm to the point now, I'm just disgusted how good people in our country We have to deal with so much stuff. And this is not life, this is not the challenges of life. These are criminals that are integrated into our society, and we take a lazy approach. And people say defund the police around me. I just, I'm like, whatever, and I walk away. And I say, next time your car's broke into, make sure you say that again. These are the kind of people. Oh yeah, and by the way, that's from a Medea movie. But we have a very relaxed approach towards crime, which is absolutely insane in a society that is very confrontational, that's very volatile, that has a 50% plus divorce rate, and that has become even confrontational in the public sphere. In the public realm, we're confrontational. And we're taking a weak, relaxed, passive approach towards crime. That's going to end up having a pendulum effect the next 10 or 20 years. People want to talk about and complain about a fascist government now. You have a passive approach towards crime. You want to target police and cut their funding. And you want to have a passive approach towards prosecution. Because sometimes our system fails. Well, sometimes when I barbecue chicken, it doesn't come out the exact way I want it. But do I throw out the entire grill of chicken? No. You deal with the problems. So the same applies to criminal justice and prosecution. Yet we deal with the errors where innocent people, and it is horrible, and they're compensated. You can't get the time back, but they're compensated, which, not saying that what happened to them is okay, but it can change the direction of not them, but their children's future. You could look at somebody that's in absolute poverty, and yeah, you were innocent. You were in jail for 5 years. You're innocent. You're in jail for 40 years. You're innocent. Here's a $25 million settlement. Now you, your brothers and sisters, and all of your children, the entire direction of your family has been changed. Yes, a horrible thing happened to that guy or that girl. It's a horrible thing. But the direction of the family is now changed. And hopefully people would, deal with the anger, the resentment, the pain, and they would say, yeah, this is horrible. And you, grandma or grandpa or mom or dad or whatever, what happened to you is wrong, and it makes us angry and sad. But on the other hand, the entire direction of our family just changed. So this will never happen to us again. We just got a $15 million settlement for what happened to you. So your kids are going to go to college, graduate school. Little Johnny or Juan or Javon is going to go to medical school. The entire family changed direction. We hate what happened to you, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, uncle, auntie. But yet what happened to you changed the direction of our family, so thank you. So, that being said, we take this approach, and in the end, things are going to get very volatile, very bad. There's going to be more anger. You already see the pot bubbling right now. That's why we move extreme to the left, extreme to the right, because the past 20 years, the pot is already bubbling. People are mad. People are tired of stuff. And this, melting pot of our country, it's getting volatile, Sometimes carrots don't like the onions, and sometimes the potatoes don't like the green peppers. So we got some problems starting. And what's going to happen is, if we continue this passive approach, and we want to target the police, we want to target prosecutors, or tell prosecutors, to sit down and shut up, only prosecute stuff that you can get an easy conviction and plead everything out. We're going to have a society where the good people are now overweighed by the bad. And that's something to really, really think about. Is that the direction we want to go? Where we have to militarize the police, because it's the only way we can sleep at night.